Okay, great. Thank you, Olia. Thanks everyone for joining. Just by way of a brief description or summary of the Intranet Kit here before I share my screen, let me just start by saying that what the Intranet Kit is it's a Intranet Kit in a box, which is meant to be a rapid start deployment for organizations that are interested in deploying a kind of a digital workplace kind of solution for their environment. The Intranet Kit is meant to support the idea of an intranet or portal, or as what's commonly called today a digital workplace, meaning that this would be the central place that your employees are going to do their work throughout the day. So if you can imagine somebody coming in, they log in to the company server or resource or website or whatever, and the first place they go would be the Intranet portal, and that be the starting place for their day. This would be a central clearinghouse for all the kinds of either resources or productivity needs that they need to get access to throughout the day in order to make them more productive. So having said that, let me just go ahead and share out my screen. So hopefully everyone can see my screen here. The Intranet Kit is designed from the ground up to run within SharePoint. So I'll start by saying that the Intranet Kit will run both within SharePoint 2016 on premises, as well as take advantage of Office 365 SharePoint Online. It's deployed using all client-side technology in line with Microsoft's patterns and practices, and does not use or rely on any back-end solutions that need to be deployed on the SharePoint server itself. The other thing that we've tried to do here is use a clean, modern design here in how we have laid this out. We use both a kind of a central masthead as a way of providing access to common menu items. We call this a mega menu. And then we also employ the use of tiles, which are meant to be kind of information areas or subspaces which get laid out on the page, directing the user to different capabilities, whether they be communication or information and so forth. The other design consideration that we've employed with the Intranet Kit is this one of responsive design. So as you can see, the page itself for the Intranet Kit will respond based on the form factor of the device that's being used to access the site. So especially when you're talking about Office 365 and SharePoint Online, many individuals or users would like to be able to come in using their smartphone or perhaps a tablet, and using those devices, we want to be able to elegantly redisplay the information to orient them to the particular device they're using. As you notice here, the mega menu, for example, is changing from a kind of a standard menu going horizontally to a hamburger-style menu here, which is the standard more or less for a mobile device. Okay. So along with those themes or goals for the Intranet Kit, let me start by saying some of the other design considerations that we have employed with the Intranet Kit and we've found commonly from our clients is in order for an intranet to be well adopted within an organization, it needs to be easy to use, which kind of goes without saying, but it also at least needs to make an individual employee's job easier, as well as the individual departments that are responsible for maintaining the content on the intranet. what we commonly find with many intranets is that the information is difficult to update or maintain from the content contributor perspective, and so thus the information becomes stale for the end users, or let's say the employees of the intranet, and so people begin to just drop off and they stop using it because they don't feel the information is relevant. The other thing is that the information many times with a typical intranet, it just simply doesn't contribute to them getting their job done. And so the information perhaps becomes gratuitous, and if it's not making their job easier, they're just simply not going to use it. So let's sort of walk through some of the key capabilities of the Intranet Kit, designed specifically to aid in some of the goals or themes that I've mentioned here at the outset. So the first thing I'll point out is the Intranet Kit is meant to be configurable by the organization or by the client, which means that we want you to be able to, once you have this installed, be able to configure and set it up based on the criteria that you see fit. So for example, we have a logo here in the upper left, which is meant to be your organizational logo. You can also apply color styles and branding to the Intranet Kit by simply going to this gear here and changing the logo or the logo file, as well as the mobile icon that gets shown on the smartphone or tablet device. And that, along with changing the themes, allow you to activate or deactivate specific themes, which will change the colors, for example, for your environment here. Okay, so again, this is meant to be configurable by you. Doesn't require additional coding. Doesn't require Covenant to come back in and do additional configurations. It's something that you can take care of yourself. The other things to point out here in the masthead is that we have a global search. The idea here is that on every page that incorporates the master page of the masthead, this search is available to the user, and we do pull in the scope definitions that are defined within SharePoint here. We've also added an I need to menu. This is a typical menu, but it's designed specifically to support the need for employees to very quickly get to information or perform activities that they commonly need to perform. So an example might be something like, and I'm just going to go in and add a menu item. It may be something like submit an expense report. And so you'll notice here that when we go in and set up menu links or menu items, we can configure whether or not this menu item or the target of the item gets opened in a new tab on the browser, or whether it simply changes the context of the current state, as well as how you want the menu item to be displayed. So in this particular case, you can actually permission trim or hide the menu item from some of your users, just simply based on identifying the groups that can see this particular menu item. The other thing you can do here from this menu, and this is incorporated into all of our menus, this edit in place idea, is if you want to edit an existing menu, you simply click on it. You can go in and make whatever changes and save those changes back. You can remove an item here from the menu, and then alternatively, you can very easily reorder the items here. Now, these are global settings that apply to all the users of the Intranet. And this particular function would typically be performed by an admin type person. And when I say admin, I don't mean like a SharePoint admin, somebody that's highly technical. For example, these menu items can easily be managed by like an office manager or administrator within a small organization, someone who's relatively non-technical. Just moving down, then we also have the mega menu. which again has similar characteristics in terms of editing in place. By just simply selecting the pencil icon, I can go in and I can create menu groupings or menu items under groupings here, again, using the same kind of interface. So once the admin individual is trained on how to add and maintain and manage menu items, they can pretty well do them across the board for all the different menuing that exists in the Intranet Kit. And again, as you can see, these mega menus pop down and provide, they can provide some relatively deep structured menuing here. What we typically recommend is that the mega menus be used for structural navigation, things like departmental navigation, locale or location navigation, these kinds of things. Whereas the I need to, again, is more oriented towards what a specific employee needs to do. Again, other examples are submit a vacation request, time off, we mentioned an expense report, other kinds of things. Are there any questions from the group so far? All right, well, hearing none, I'm just going to pop down into some of the other features then. And these, as I indicated, are being represented by tiles. And actually, while I have a particular tile layout that is configured here, when I say tile layout, I'm just simply indicating positioning of the tiles and location, right? So the fact that I have this rotator tile up here in the upper left, and that's followed by a Power BI tile and so forth. This
Kurt,
can all be...
I apologize. There is one question.
Okay.
John asked, how are permissions controlled? AD or SharePoint groups?
Both. Yes. Any other questions there?
No, that was the only one. Thank you.
So this again goes back to the admin, the IK admin permission level here. But if a popular guy, if the admin, the IK admin wants to be able to change the layout of the tiles, we have a kind of a utility or interface that allows them to do that. So let's say, for example, I want to move, let's say I want to take the employee spotlight off. So as you can see, I have this configured to use 3 columns, and then I have basically a tile tray. These tiles are available for use. So if I take it off of a column or out of a column and I put it in the tile tray, I'm essentially taking it off the screen. Doesn't mean it's not available. I could choose to put it in a different column, for example, but in this case I'm just simply taking it off the tray. And let's say I want to change the order of key links and my links, for example. So I can just do that here. I can also alternatively go in and I can change the title or choose whether or not I want to display the title for the particular tile in question. But by saving the layout, then what this does is this reapplies the new tile settings, and in this case, I've removed the employee spotlight and I resequenced the my links and key links here. So as we're waiting for this to load, the changes actually happen really immediately. Once you save the changes, then the page, the Intranet page, if you will, now is set up for all of your users now to use. So let's talk then about some of these other links here. So I have some other tiles. One is called a key links. I'm gonna move off of the rotator for now and talk about key links. So key links again is another way of representing links off of your site. It just happens to be being done in a tile here, as opposed to in a horizontal menu or an I need to kind of structure. And so it works the same. Again, you just simply add or maintain the links and save the changes. And again, these become available to all of your users in the system. We also have a My Links. The My Links tile here specifically is for users to maintain their own personal links. So if you can think of this as a situation where you'll perhaps move off of or use your quick links in the browser and actually do this within the home page, you can do that here by just each individual user going in and putting in whatever they want their personal links to be. And so again, if I add this link here, this is going to be a link that I see as an authenticated user, but another user, for example, if they log in, they will not see this. They will see whatever their links are. So I'm just going to take this tile off here. I'm having some issues with one. So we'll talk quickly about the news carousel, or what we also call the image rotator. So basically what this is it's this tile, the blue tile here that's being represented. This is a way that you can communicate to your organization. So in here you can put in announcements, you can put in news articles, these kinds of things. It does rotate. You can have quite a number of entries here, I think up to 9. And what you can do is you can link these to either an external URL, or you can link them back into the news articles within SharePoint. So this one here looks like it's linking internally. So I'll go ahead and select that. So you can see that when I click on it, and there's not a whole lot here, but this would take you to a news article. And the news article then, let's say you have an HR or a marketing communications organization that is creating these news articles internally. They can be published and socialized out to your organization. But as I said, you can also link out to other URLs outside of your intranet. We have an employee lookup, which works off of the SharePoint profile. And so the way this works is we will read and use the SharePoint profile list that is typically maintained through an Active Directory sync. And you can search by name here. And once you get a name hit, if you click on the name, it will actually take you to either a profile page if it's SharePoint 2016, or a Delve site if it is an Office 365 SharePoint Online implementation. I don't know how many of you are using Teams, and I don't mean team sites, I mean Teams within the Office 365 stack, but we have something called a hub tile, which will basically take you to any teams or groups that you have membership with. And so again, this list is automatically populated based on the teams or groups that I specifically am members of. Okay, and so typically by clicking on the link, it will take me directly to that team site and allow me to interact with that information. So if you happen to be using Teams, this is a nice way of providing quick access to Teams right from within your intranet. Okay. We also have a My Delve tile, or a Delve tile. This interacts with your Delve graph. So this is an Office 365 SharePoint Online feature specifically. There are some tiles that are designed that work specifically with SharePoint Online as opposed to SharePoint 2016. But in this particular case, it does require a Delve configuration. And Delve, of course, is a cloud-based service. So in this particular situation, through the Delve graph, what it does is it shows me documents that either I have been working on or constituents that are in my groups, my work groups. And so it's a very quick and easy way of showing me kind of what the activity is going on. And then I can actually see previews here right within the tile. If I want to see what those documents or artifacts are, I can just view it right within here, or I can alternatively just click and navigate to the document itself. So this takes much of the Delve functionality that you get off of your Delve site or Delve profile. It just simply brings it into the intranet itself. We also have a charting tile. Now this is actually based on something called D3, which is a kind of a public domain charting library. But basically what this does is this will work off charting data, dynamic data that is stored in SharePoint lists. So if you have situations where you have some charts that you would like to do, some charting that you believe you can build based off of SharePoint lists, then this particular tile can be configured then to read that information dynamically. Okay. So it's a nice intermediate charting capability, say between at the high end Power BI and perhaps at the low end using something like either a static image or perhaps Excel services or something like that. And again, we have that built into a tile. We also have a My Videos tile. Now what this does is this actually links into the video service in Office 365. So again, the nice thing about this is any subscriptions that I have across any of the channels in the video service get represented to me in a drop-down list. And so I can change the channel, so to speak, to get the lists of videos that I'm able to see. And then we also have a playback mechanism here right within the. It's interesting. Right within the product itself that allows you to play this back right within the browser. So moving on down, we have a social tile, which allows you to subscribe to YouTube and Twitter. The way we see this work typically is organizations typically have a lot of social media activity going on that's outward bound, but rarely are employees sort of aware of how that kind of social media presence gets conveyed and gets established outside the organization. And so this is a way of sort of pulling that information internally so that your employees, the people on the inside, can actually see kind of what the social media activity is for the organization. We have a blog tile, which allows you to configure up to 3 blogs, and this information then gets dynamically updated here based on the blogs that get published. So the case in point here is that you've got a number of individuals who are blogging, for example, and what you'd like to be able to do is auto-publish that or make available that blog activity on the home page here. And so this tile will allow you to do that, and then looking at the feed, then you can click on the feed and go out and actually read the article. So I'll stop here for just a minute. Are there any questions, Olia?
No additional questions right now. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ryan.
One question, just in relation to the meeting invite, it talked about this as kind of Covenant's offering. So I'm just trying to understand what's SharePoint versus what Covenant has kind of built on top of SharePoint, or help me understand that.
Sure, great question. So as I mentioned at the outset, this is running on top of SharePoint, so you need a SharePoint environment for this to run on. All right. So what Covenant has developed and is offering is essentially the total experience that you're seeing here. Right. So I started with describing responsive design. I talked about being able to configure and brand the masthead. We talked about inline mega menu editing. I need to, all these different components, the information tiles that you're seeing I'm walking through, all of those things have been developed by Covenant. Now, they rely on data sources that exist either within SharePoint or within Office 365 or other locations, right? So we obviously didn't write those information sources, right? So for example, Teams, Teams exists, right? What we did was we wrote the hub tile here, right? And the hub tile integrates in with the Intranet Kit. So the work that we did would be around the hub tile and offering the experience that you're seeing here. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. And sorry, I was a few minutes late, so it sounds like I
problem.
missed a little bit of that explanation. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem at all. Thanks for the question. Anybody else? Yeah, and so Ryan, quickly, I'm not sure kind of what your experience has been with SharePoint and so forth, but we've Covenant's been around for about 15 years, and we've done lots and lots and lots of intranets through the years, and much of what I'm showing you here is based on kind of best practices and or work that we've done previously on how we've built intranets for our clients. And that, along with Microsoft guidance with regards to obviously where they're heading with the Office 365 SharePoint Online platform and so forth, have sort of dovetailed into this Intranet Kit offering. Many times when we start with clients, they say, hey, we think we need an intranet or we need a portal or something like that. And we begin to meet with the client to sort of define their requirements, understand what their needs are. Lots of times we're staring at a whiteboard, and they go, well, what do you think we need? And we say, well, what do you think you want? And so to get beyond that, this is a great entree into getting them very rapidly from zero to something. Literally, we can deploy and configure this in days, and have an operating intranet in a very, very short period of time, as opposed to weeks and months and so on and so forth, right? The other thing that we offer, because we're a professional services firm, is that while we offer quite a lot of richness in the Intranet Kit itself, we can also provide customization services. And when I say that, I don't mean configuration, like, for example, changing a menu item and so forth. We've built that into the kit so that our clients can do that themselves. But let's say, for example, you wanted a tile to behave differently, or you wanted a new tile or something like that. We can do that. We can do that by just simply providing some customization to the kit. So, okay, well, let's move on then. I'm still kind of working down and through the tiles here. So we have an Rss Feed tile here. One of the things I kind of mentioned at the outset was this idea of the difficulty of maintaining an intranet. And there's kind of two sides of the coin. One side of the coin is the user of the intranet. This would be the employee who needs to get their work done. They need to find information and so forth, right? And so what they need is they need to be able to, find what they're looking for, have it be relevant, and quickly get on with their work. That's, I think, what their highest needs are. On the other side of it, though, there are certain groups or individuals that are responsible for maintaining the content on the intranet. And so the intranet itself needs to be structured in such a way that it's very easy to update and refresh information so that it doesn't become overly burdensome, where the person that already has 10 tasks on their plate now has 2 more because they've got to go out and update stuff on the intranet, right? So if you probably noticed, or maybe perhaps not, and I can call this out, many of these tiles, rather than having a direct update requirement, meaning, hey, somebody's got to go out and maintain the My Videos tile. Well, that's not really how that works. The way it works is that these tiles will automatically consume data and activity that other people are already doing as part of their normal job. Okay, so let's take video for example. Marketing. There may be folks in marketing that as part of their job, they're already responsible for creating videos, to market the company, for example. Well, the fact that they put the videos out into the video service in Office 365 and you've subscribed to those automatically mean that when they go out and make updates, you just automatically get that content. You see, nobody's doing, quote, additional work to update the intranet or the portal, okay? The same thing with the Delve tile, Power BI, the Hub tile. I mean, a lot of these, the information is kind of subscribed to and automatically updated. So we're not putting kind of an overly onerous content maintenance load on individuals. Now, the one area where that may be different is in the rotator, the carousel, right? Because one would expect, okay, somebody's probably writing news articles. Okay, fine, get that one. On the blogs, you probably got some folks writing blogs, but again, that may be part of their normal activity. So it's not a, hey, let's add maintaining the internet to all the other stuff you do. It's, oh, the blog stuff you're already doing? What we're going to do is we're going to consume that so that it comes to the portal. So I want you to be thinking of it in that way. So with the RSS feed, same kind of idea, right? So you can subscribe to feeds, maybe industry specific, it may be technology, whatever it is that you feel you need in your organization. But by subscribing to these feeds, the information automatically gets updated in this tile here, all right? So again, nobody's going out and entering information into feeds, right? As long as you subscribe to these feeds, somebody else is actually creating this content. Okay. Let's see. So we've got a calendar. We've got a Rollup calendar. You can have multiple SharePoint calendars roll up into this this particular tile calendar here. And the nice thing about this is, whether it be company functions or HR calendar, payroll calendar, whatever, you can have these roll up into this this single tile here. And then the actual events themselves get displayed down here. And then by clicking on the event, you can obviously read what the event is, but you can also add the, in this case, if it's a meeting or something like that, you could actually add it to your personal Outlook calendar through this interface here. We have support for a number of what we call content editors. So a content editor is just a tile where you want to put in your own content. So whether it be an image, images, if you want to put in a spreadsheet, not a spreadsheet, but perhaps a table or something like that, you can do that here. You can go in and put in HTML if you want to do that. Or you can just simply use the word-like functions here to just simply put the information in. And then this gets stored in the tile here for everyone to see. We also have a list view tile. What you're able to do here with this is you're able to actually go in and access list information within SharePoint and actually display it in a tile form. So there may be situations where your lists actually contain some data that what you'd like to do is actually have them appear in a tile. So let's see, moving on here. As you can see, we've got a lot of tiles. What we try to do is and again, the expectation here is that you're not putting all the tiles out here. You're probably putting in those that you need. But there's definitely a lot here that you can kind of evolve into depending on what your needs are. But we do integrate into Yammer. If you are using Yammer or plan on using Yammer, we have a tile for that. We have a weather tile here. This is personalizable. We have a task tile which uses the SharePoint task list. So if you have any tasks that are assigned to you specifically, they will appear here in this tile. It'll show you what pending tasks you have, what the priority is, how many are late, and then it will list the tasks out and give you the ability to action the task, which typically is to approve or close the task. We also have an employee poll. So with the employee poll here, what you're able to do is go out and set up polls for your employees to take. Essentially what happens then is the current poll then shows or is live. This one happens to end here, but as the individual employees take the poll, the results of the poll at that particular point in time is shown to them in the graph here. So it allows you to get not only feedback, anonymous feedback from employees, but also gives the employees a chance to actually see how everyone else is responding to the poll questions. Any questions so far? Kind of working back up here, the home page. So we have a My Stocks tile. Again, let's see here. I can go in and I can add a stock either from a personalized perspective, or I can go in and set this up for everybody. Depending on how you set this up, if I'm an admin, I can actually lock a stock so that people can't take the stock off. But if it's unlocked, then people can remove the stock and, of course, add their own. We also have what we call a world clock, which allows you to basically set up multiple cities, and it will display their time. So for organizations that have multiple locations, that's a pretty handy thing to have. I think that pretty much wraps up just kind of running through the tiles here. We also have some page layouts that allow you to extend this home page into landing pages, but they allow you to pull this Chrome down, which is the masthead and the menuing and so forth. So as an example, under departments, under HR, for example, I may have an HR landing page that I want, the HR department to manage, let's say, some information that goes public to the employees. Same might be true for accounting or finance or whatever operations. And so these other publishing templates, if you will allow you to, or allow those departments to actually lay out the content in their particular departments, but still bring in this masthead here so that you have a consistent look and feel for your intranet. We are constantly adding to the Intranet Kit as we work with clients. Many of the features and capabilities that they request ultimately make their way back into the Intranet Kit, and then we will typically then provide that as an update to our clients. So let me just talk quickly then about subscriptions. So we do offer this on a subscription basis per user per month. The cost depends on the number of users that you have in your organization. But it's typically if you're in the hundreds, 500,000 users, it's typically going to be a few dollars, $2, $3, $4 per user per month kind of thing. It's kind of in that category. There is also just a small setup fee just to get the Intranet Kit configured in your environment. And then we can offer other professional services on top of that if you need help with migrating your content into SharePoint or information architecture to get things structured so that they work well within this kind of a scheme. We can offer those services as well. Any questions? Well, I think I'm done early. Olia, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yes, I do want to let everyone know that in a few, or next week actually, we will be having a deep dive into our Intranet Kit during our IK forum. I'm placing the link to that event in the chat right now for all of you. It will be held at T-Rex downtown from 9 a.m. to 11. So we hope that you guys, if you want more information, please feel free to join us, and Kurt will be there as well as some of our SharePoint developers to answer any questions that you may have about the Intranet Kit.
And I thought of one question. At the top, there's a search everything. And does that involve additional capabilities such as an enterprise search, or is that how does that work?
Yeah, great question. So we incorporate or leverage the SharePoint search engine for that, which is quite powerful. And so in this particular case, as you rightly pointed out, it's a search everything, but there are other what are called scoped searches that can be set up. These are out of the box scope searches, but you can also custom define some scope searches based on typically the scoping is based on either location, meaning I want to search these sites, and or metadata. I want to search these sites with documents that are tagged thusly, right? So while your search term is freeform, the scope that you're searching can be narrowed here, right? Okay, so the short answer to your question is we use the Microsoft search engine that's in SharePoint for this, and it's quite powerful.
And then you can configure that to basically tie into separate platforms or separate metadata behind the scenes to make it more powerful, right?
That is correct. So again, let me just say, I like kind of saying this, the quality of the search results is directly proportional to how well you tag the data, right? In other words, you could just take all your files, dump them into SharePoint. SharePoint will index all the documents, right? But the quality of the search results are probably not going to be great because you're going to get sort of like a Google-like response on your search terms, and it's basically going to look at the content of the document, and it's going to look at the title. And those are the two main things it's looking for, right? Now, if you are able to extend that by location, if you say, you know what, I put all my contracts in a particular site, right? Well, then, then if I set up a scope called contracts or legal or something, then even if I have a relatively nebulous search term, I'm at least searching a file drawer as opposed to an entire wall of cabinets, if you know what I'm saying, right? Okay. So that's one way of doing it, and again, these aren't mutually exclusive. You can use a combination of strategies. The other is when I upload my documents into SharePoint, I can also tag them to say, hey, you know what, this is a contract, or this is a policy or procedure or something like that, right? And I can give other descriptors, if you will, to that document. So it's not just looking at the title and the contents of the document, it's also looking at other information, right? And that will help improve the quality of the results. That's all just built into SharePoint. But whatever you do there, we rely on here with the search query here at the top.
Got it. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool.
Any other questions? All right. Well, I thank you, everyone, for your time today, and you've been a great audience. I hope this is of interest to you, and those of you that would like more information, I'm sure that Olia will be sending out further contact there, and if some of you are available for the forum, would love to see you.
Yes, I've just put Kurt's information or contact information in the chat, so you feel free to reach out to him directly. And thank you so much for everyone joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.